Got an employment gap on your resume? For most of us, that little blank space is a huge source of stress. But what if I told you that you could turn it from a weakness into a real professional strength? Okay, let's get right into exactly how to do that. First things first, let's get one thing straight. You are not alone, not even close. You see this number? Nearly 70% of all professionals have an employment gap at some point. It's a totally normal, even expected part of a modern career. The problem isn't the gap itself, really. It's how we've all been taught to talk about it or, not talk about it. So here's our game plan. We're going to build your complete toolkit with these 6 steps. We'll start with why your gap is normal. Then we'll expose the resume hiding trap. Spoiler, doesn't work. After that, we'll dive into the good stuff, the clear framework for your resume, how to absolutely ace the interview, and how to format everything so you can beat those resume screening bots. And we'll wrap it all up with a 30-day action plan you can start today. Okay, so if these gaps are so incredibly common, why are they so stressful? Well, the anxiety actually comes from both sides of the table. Employers get a little nervous. They wonder if your skills are still sharp. And you, the candidate, you worry you'll be judged or just filtered out before you even get a chance to say anything. And that feeling leads to a pretty big mistake. And that mistake is what I call the resume hiding trap. It's that gut instinct to try and hide it or disguise it or just kind of gloss over the gap. People think, hey, if I can just camouflage the timeline, maybe recruiters won't even notice. But let me tell you, this strategy almost always backfires. And here's why. These tactics fail on 2 different levels. First, you've got the robots, the applicant tracking systems, or ATS. They're literally programmed to spot these tricks. Things like functional resumes or only listing years instead of months. They get flagged immediately. And second, even if your resume makes it past the bots to a real person, hiring managers see this stuff all the time. They recognize it in a second. And when they see you trying to hide something, what do you think they assume? Yep, the worst. So if hiding it is out, what's the alternative? It's all about strategic positioning. And this is where we get to our first major tool, a framework for crafting a powerful, concise, and really confident story about your time away. We call it the CLEAR framework, and its entire purpose is to shift your mindset and your language from apology to value. It's designed to stop you from explaining what you weren't doing, working a 9 to 5, and start focusing on the valuable things you were doing. Let's break it down real quick. C is for concise. Keep it brief and professional. L is for leadership. This is where you highlight any management or big decision-making skills you used. E is for evidence. Give them concrete proof of what you did, like certifications you earned or projects you completed. A is for action-oriented. You want to use strong verbs that show you were proactive, not passive. And finally, R is for relevance. You have to connect everything back to the job you're applying for. So, here's how that looks in the real world for, say, a caregiving gap. You don't say, I took time off for family. No, you give yourself a professional title like family care manager. Then you list transferable skills like coordination and project management. And you provide evidence that you stayed current, like naming a specific certificate you earned. See, it's professional, it's powerful, and best of all, it's true. Now, for a health-related gap, the focus is a little different. It's all about being concise and looking forward. You state the fact of the leave, confirm you kept up with your industry, and, this is the most important part, you declare yourself fully ready to return. It addresses their main concern head-on with total confidence, giving them the reassurance they need without oversharing. And what about a planned sabbatical? Well, you frame it as a strategic investment in your own career. You explicitly state that you took this time to gain specific, advanced skills for the purpose of landing higher-level roles. This positions the gap not as a vacation, but as a calculated step up the career ladder. Okay, so the CLEAR framework just got your resume past the screeners and into the yes pile. Awesome. But now you've got the interview. Your verbal explanation is going to build on this, but it needs a slightly different approach. Your interview answer should have 3 distinct parts. Think of it like a rhythm. First, you give brief, factual context. I'm talking 1 sentence. Second, and this is where you'll spend most of your time, you detail the value you gained, the skills, the learnings, the accomplishments. And third, you pivot hard to a strong, enthusiastic forward focus on the role you're interviewing for. And here's what that sounds like all put together. Listen to the flow. I took time to manage complex care coordination. That's it. That's the brief context. During that period, I developed skills in X, Y, and Z. That's the detailed value. Now, I'm excited to bring these enhanced skills right here to this role. That's the forward focus. It's a 30-second answer that is confident, specific, and immediately pivots the conversation from the past to the future value you bring. Now, what you don't do is just as important. Rule number 1, never, ever apologize. Don't get lost in a bunch of personal details nobody needs to know. You have to project total confidence that you're ready to come back. Your job is to answer their question, then pivot the conversation right back to why you're perfect for the role. And this should go without saying, but never badmouth a former employer. Just don't. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the technical side for a minute. How you format all this great information on the page is just as critical as the words you use, especially when you need to get past those automated resume screeners. So here's the deal. The right way is to treat the gap just like any other job in your chronological work history. Give it that professional title we talked about, add 2 or 3 bullet points highlighting the skills and achievements using our clear framework, and just keep it right there in order. The wrong approaches we talked about earlier, those functional formats using only years, leaving big blank holes, they're just immediate red flags for both the software and any human who reads it. And hey, if you're sitting there struggling thinking, I didn't really gain any skills, I want you to look at this list. Whether you are caregiving or traveling or recovering, chances are you're managing a project, resolving a crisis, handling a budget, or communicating with a bunch of different people. These are high-value professional skills, period. Own them. All right, we've covered the strategy, the language, and the formatting. We've covered a lot. Now it's time to actually put it into practice. This isn't just theory. Here is a concrete plan to get all of this done in the next 30 days. We'll break it down week by week so it's not overwhelming. Week 1 is all about assessing your gap and making a big inventory of every skill and accomplishment. In week 2, you'll use that list to craft your clear explanation for your resume and practice your 3-part interview answer until it feels natural. Week 3 is go time. Start applying and testing your new story out in the wild. And in week 4, you'll look at the results and refine your approach based on the response rates you're getting. So, how do you know if it's working? Here's your benchmark. If you're getting a 15% or higher response rate from your applications, meaning you're hearing back for interviews, that's a really strong signal that your new confident positioning is hitting the mark with recruiters and getting past those automated screens. You know, getting the formatting and the language just right for those ATS bots can be, well, tricky. If you want to be absolutely certain your resume is compatible, a tool like Pass the Scan actually uses AI to analyze it. It can give you really precise feedback on how your gap explanation is going to be read by those systems. So, let's end with this. Your employment gap isn't some shameful secret. It's not a blank space. It's a chapter in your professional story. And that chapter has a narrative of resilience, of growth, of unique experience. So the only question left is, what strength will you choose to tell?